Hi everyone, my name is Helenique A. Argeru and I am here with a very beautiful woman called Charlene, and she's actually a consultant, different to a coach. She actually tells you what to do, and she knows how to really assess what the biggest problem in your business might be and what you need to do to actually fix it. She runs some very interesting programs. She's going to tell us about them, but before we get there, I wanted you to know that again, this is someone I don't know very well, but I just connected in, watched one of her videos on time management, found it so incredibly practically useful that I thought it would be really wonderful to speak to Charlene, because she's been around in business consulting for a really long time. I found out that she has a background in marketing and engineering. And of course, now in the world, marketing is such an important area, but really it doesn't work unless you know really where you're going in your business. And I think she manages to really hit the nail on the head in so many different ways. So welcome to you, Charlene. It's very exciting to have you. And your surname is Burke. Is that right?
Thank you for having me, Helenique. So pleased to be here. And yes, my surname is Burke.
Charlene Burke. Tell us a little bit from your words, Charlene, how you see it, your profession and your current way of working in the world. What would you highlight about that?
Oh, the first thing that comes to mind is that I have reached the point finally in my work life and my personal life that I am doing what I want to do according to the values that I have. And I sleep well at night because during the day, that which I do is in line with who I am and what I believe is important to bring to the world, which is clarity and compassion and productivity and confidence.
Fantastic. And I'm reaching that place too in recognizing how important productivity is and how stopped we get, how much we are confronted by so many things changing in the business world. So I've just begun to reach the place of recognizing how important it is to manage so many things so that you can remain productive and even become more productive if you want to run a really well-running business. Obviously, it takes a few more skills than what I think we realized in the beginning, and it's lovely to have you here to talk about that. We're going to get personal first about you as a woman of truth, you as a woman of integrity with lots of experience and lots of inner wisdom. So I'm wondering, was there a breakthrough moment for you, a time in your life where you were struggling with something and then you learned something really significant from that? So like a life learning or a lesson from life that you could take us through and share with us that helps us understand how you cultivated your wisdom to begin with.
Yeah, I'll go back quite a few years. That has held me well. Actually, it's something that it was a moment when I was young, and when I say young, I was in my late 20s. I was awkward. I was socially backward, socially inept. I couldn't hold conversations with people on a regular basis. There's a lot of anxiety, extreme stress. I was overwhelmed with the idea that I'm supposed to know how to navigate this thing called life. You see, and that's what always stopped me, was the idea that I'm supposed to know this stuff. Not that I'm supposed to learn it and put it to use, but I'm supposed to already know. It's like I was born knowing. I have no idea where that came from. But I kept looking for the on-off switch, right? The switch that said, oh, yay, now you know everything and now all is going to be well and you don't have to stress anymore. What that really means is that I had no idea how to ask other people for help. So what happened is that I had a job that the annual review, performance evaluation was, I look back now, was pretty good. It was a combination of what you did well and what you weren't doing so well in and what we needed to work on. I viewed it as the most horrible thing in the world because I couldn't respond. I couldn't say why what he was saying wasn't good. I couldn't respond. I couldn't say, no, that's not right. This is how it happened. Because I was so caught up in, he's pointing out every bad thing about me. So this is what I did. There was an older woman in my life, very similar to a grandmother. And I stopped at her house for a cup of coffee. I had done this often previously for about a year or so, just dropping in, saying hello. And I just started talking about this performance review. And she said, well, it sounds to me like you just got all caught up in yourself and took it all personally. And well, yes, that's a problem. So how do we fix that? So you see, if now you have a problem, what's the answer to that problem? Because as soon as you can identify there's a problem, now it's time to look for an answer, right? Until then, it's just this general anxiety, stress, overwhelm, thinking too much, all that stuff. So what we did was, had over a cup of coffee, she walked me through how to prepare myself for any situation that comes my way. Some of it meant that, in this case, the next performance review, I know it's coming. So ahead of time, I know what it's like and what will happen in that meeting. So I walk through it ahead of time on my own. And I walk through the good, the bad, what wasn't so good, and thinking it through. So what I did the next time, yes, I had a cup of coffee with her, and we talked about the upcoming performance review. And she started asking me, well, why did you think that was bad? What if he doesn't think that was? What if, right? What we did was role play. The next performance review, this was done every 6 months, not every year. The next performance review, I sat there very confident, still anxious, still fearful, not sure what he was going to say, but I felt confident. I felt the anxiety as I was before because I was prepared. So when a situation was brought up, I took a breath, because we walked through all this. I took a breath. I said, well, I'm not sure I see it that way. And I could say it that way because I had practiced ahead of time. I knew what I was going to say ahead of time. So preparation was key. But that's not the big turning point for me. The biggest turning point out of all of that, and the lesson I learned, was going to somebody I trusted and asking a question to help me solve a problem, and then putting that answer to use. Implementation. That's where it was key. Up until that point, I'd been in conversations and discussions with people about the good, the bad, the ugly, about life. I had been in discussions with people about problems, but I had never sat down with the intention to solve that problem with somebody else and then put it into action and have the experience that said, I am better because I went to her than I was when I was on my own. So that to me is key, and that's what comes to mind.
Beautiful. So it's like being willing to be vulnerable and ask for help, but also to use what you hear and actually take action with it. You can't just, mull over things in conversation like we often do and not change what you're doing in reality, because that's not really going to help you. So that's a very, very powerful story of also being able to role play how to respond. I like how you share with us so much about not feeling like you had it all worked out, because I think that's something we all struggle with, feeling like we're supposed to know, and we're not. We have to learn a lot of stuff.
Where does that come from? That's a question I've been asking for years and still looking for that. Where in the world did we get the idea that we were born supposed to know all this stuff?
Yeah, so that's really great, and I can see then how that might also turn you into somebody who's a very successful and helpful consultant, to be able to really help people take action on what they're learning. So at 8 years old, were you this clear about that? What kind of advice would you give yourself at 8 years old? How were you seeing the world as a young girl, and how do you see it now in your life? And what would you tell this young 8-year-old self if you could? What advice would you give her?
Well, so I was the oddball kid. All right. So at 8 years old, I viewed the world as a mental, intellectual exploration. I was very, very bright. I was much preferred reading and writing and music. I was just getting started in piano, and very solitary. very much not a loner, but the things that I enjoyed were about mental stimulation and learning. It was all about being a sponge and learning what the books had to say, right? So what I would tell myself at 8 years old is, from what you've read, now, having said this, I can also come from a family that we discussed what we read. But again, it was always discussed at an intellectual level. It was discussed at, what do you think about this? What do you think? Why do you think that? Support your thinking. Support your premise. What was missing was, how do you feel about that? And does that line up with how you think about it? And if it doesn't, be aware of how you feel about it and move forward anyway. And that's the way I learned how to actually become aware of how I felt about things and the connection between my thinking and my feelings. Because I stayed so much into my thinking, I ignored and didn't take seriously what my feelings were and couldn't express them and didn't understand what they were about. So if I were looking at myself now, talking to me at 8 years old, I would simply say that while feelings are not what run you, they are such a part of you that you need to understand what they are and how important they are for you to be able to connect with other people and to connect with other things, people, places, and things outside of yourself.
Wow. Wow, that's so on point. I think very helpful to hear you have gone through that process in your own way, to see how important they were, feelings, and really integrating that into how we experience life, especially when we're in the head a lot. So as a woman, Charlene, you've had an experience in the USA. I'm speaking to you from Europe, and I come from a very Mediterranean culture, but I grew up in Africa. I'm imagining you have a totally different field of reference, but somewhere in all this, there's so many similarities for women around the world. And the area that we look at now is the way that women end up deceiving themselves, or they feel deceived or are deceived by society in some way to believe certain things that are not necessarily true. So in your personal journey, can you relate to that question? And what would you say is the biggest lie that women believe in life?
For me, and from what I've seen and experienced with other women in general, in the US especially, is that we have this idea in our head that we're supposed to be able to do everything that we want, that we should know how to do it, and that vulnerability equals weakness, which is not true, but that's what we believe.
Wow.
So that's
yeah, and it's interesting how that's all so much the same across the board, that somehow with you it's coming out quite strongly, this idea that we should already know that we're supposed to be really clever and wise and have it all sorted, have it all together. There's a huge movement in the world now, and I think it's been going for a while. Maybe you have a way of explaining that from your perspective too, where women are starting to talk so much more to women. We're exploring these things that we've just been discussing. There's, I think, many meetings around the world, gatherings, a lot more women are stepping out and stepping forward. And in the field of politics, in science, in leadership, in business, there's definitely a shift happening. And I wanted to just give you the chance to speak to that and to tell us, what do you think about it? Is there anything you would like to add into that conversation, or how do you look at that movement now? Do you see it really effective? Is it working? And what do we need to remember? Anything you'd like to share with us about that, about the movement that women are in at the moment?
I'm all for it. And I'll tell you why is when women are in positions of leadership, they've gotten there because they understand the importance of supporting one another. And that's one thing that has held each of us back. While it's ourselves that hold us back in terms of, I'm not going to ask for help. It's also when we think like that, we don't reach out to support, encourage, and help others. We put ourselves in that barrier, right? We put up that wall because I'm not going to ask you for help. I can do this. I'm strong. I'm Wonder Woman. I'm Superwoman, right? But those who attain leadership in politics, in business, in community, in nonprofit, whatever that leadership role is, understand the importance of collaboration, mutual respect, support, encouragement, and learning from each other. And that is what I am supporting when I see women in positions that are very visible. What I love about that's happening because of that is the small groups of women that are gathering together and realizing that there's nothing to fear from each other. There's nothing that, again, vulnerability does not equal weakness.
Right.
I want you to, here's something that I used to tell young women who've been sent to me over the years for a variety of reasons, is that, interestingly enough, the more that I tell you about who I am and what I do, the less power you have over me. Therefore, vulnerability equals strength. You can't hurt me with knowledge I'm already fully aware of and have expressed.
Yeah, very well
If
put.
I'm trying to hide it, right? If I'm trying to keep it close, if I'm trying to keep it a secret, if I'm trying to appear strong when in actuality I'm feeling very, very low in energy, and I'm feeling, see, I don't, you're not weak. You feel low in energy. You feel uncertain. You have lack of confidence and those sort of things. If I don't express that in some way, you can hurt me by revealing that knowledge because I'm trying to keep it secret, right? But there's great power. You know that statement of the truth will set you free. That's what it means. There's great power and freedom and just being who you are and living how you live and opening up to others to support them in their journey of life, because there's no longer anything for somebody to hurt you with.
Right. And being so revealed and so open and so willing to just share who you are. I really like how you explain that. Gives you the right to be your own person, your own author of destiny, that you don't need anybody's permission, and nobody can really agree or disagree because nobody lives the same experience anyway. So it's quite important.
Now, here's the important part, though. Here's the important part is that many will take this. I know this because I did it too when I learned this. Many will take this to mean that I'm standing by myself and separate, and that is not true. I am able to be confident today in who I am and what I do because I have this circle, an inner circle of people who support me in what I am doing in my life and in my profession. I'm not by myself. The other thing I tell people is, seems to help some, is whenever you think you're supposed to do everything by yourself, there's 7 billion other people on this world. For goodness sakes, think about that. There's a reason that they're there. There's somebody there that's supposed to be supporting you, encouraging you, giving you more answers, helping you to learn, helping you to understand knowledge so you gain wisdom, helping you to implement. There's a reason there's other people around.
Yeah. And so we don't really have to spend time in this illusion that we're supposed to get it all right. We're supposed to be figuring it all out on our own. We need to actually learn to relate and be vulnerable to be able to do that, share who we are to do that, and you speak straight to that. So is there a way that people can actually work with you and or get support from you on the areas that you are actually consulting people on, and how would they be able to do that?
Well, primarily what I do when I'm working with somebody is somebody in business. And again, it's as a consultant, what my specialty and special gifts are related to really helping to define the real problem and then finding the answer to that, and helping you to determine how that answer is going to be implemented. Now, sometimes that means I do the work. Sometimes it means that you have to outsource, and we look for outsourcing help. We hire somebody, help you hire somebody. Sometimes it's a matter of you're using the wrong tools. You're misunderstanding the information. Whatever that answer is, I'm there to help figure out how to put it to use, right? That's an action plan. So the best way to approach me is simply to say, I think I have a problem in my business. Can we have a conversation? And then we decide whether or not we're going to work together and what that looks like. On the other side, meaning not as direct one-to-one, I do have what I call focus and succeed groups. And those are groups of up to 10 people. And what we do is they're 10 weeks. And we focus on helping you to get something done. You are going to focus on, it's all about productivity, because from productivity comes success, comes confidence, all the personal stuff as well as the business stuff. But direct productivity, finishing something, is an amazing feeling. So that's my focus and succeed group, and it's 10 weeks. And then I have off and on other fun things that I like to do. But that's it primarily. And the best way to reach me is through the website, searchbyburke.com. Searchbyburke.com. Search because I help you to find the answers. I do the searching for you, or you're searching for an answer, so you find me.
Fantastic. So really a productivity group, as I've understood it now, which is 10 weeks long, and you're in a focus group of 10 people, and or people can have consultancy hours or processes with you where you can help them look at their problem in their business, find out how to fix it, and then either outsource or you help them resolve some of those issues.
Yes.
Fantastic. We've come to the final words for our interview. They are words from you that inspire and or ignite something in the women that are listening, and also a kind of prayer to women that would never listen to a podcast like this, or maybe have not reached a certain level of privilege or education to be able to develop in this way. 3 words that you would choose. Either they connect, like I am great, or they're separate words like truth, power, strength, which can help us remember your wisdom and help us remember something about this whole conversation that really supports us and strengthens us when we think back. So what would your 3 words be for the women listening and those not listening?
I can't do it for 3 words. Not off the top of my head, because I have a motto.
Go for it. Give us your motto then, no problem.
Move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow your heart, grow your mind, and grow your business. The key is move forward on purpose, with purpose.
On purpose, with purpose. Can you share a little bit more about what that means?
That means being aware of what you're doing right now, why you're doing it, so that when obstacles come up, problems come up, distractions come up, you're able to say, that doesn't suit me right now. I need to keep where I am. Fantastic. I know what I'm doing today. I know why I'm doing it. Nothing can stop me, because I'm on purpose, with purpose.
On purpose, with purpose, and moving forward. And before we started this interview, you said some really great things about how there's a real challenge to productivity, where sometimes it's just plain laziness, and sometimes it's not knowing what to do. Sometimes, as you just mentioned now, it's not being clear about the purpose. So I really like that. Thank you so much for your time, Charlene, and I look forward to listening back on this interview and gaining some more tips and tools. And it's really nice to know that if anybody needs to get something done, they can just hop into a group program with you and 9 other people and actually accomplish a book or a project or do their marketing funnels or plan their websites or whatever else is still hanging. So that's great to know. Thank you so much for your time. And we wish you the best with all your projects. We'll put the details for your websites on this video.
Thank you so much, Elenique. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.